Have you ever gone into debt over tea? The United Kingdom did, and they desperately needed some way to fix it. Quick plug! Share and subscribe! Now during the Industrial Revolution, many European nations practiced mercantilism, which focused on selling their goods for more than they bought them. Unfortunately, for the UK as an example, this relies on having something that the other would want to buy. TLDR, make more money exporting items than you spend importing them. Ever since Queen Consort Catherine of Braganza married King Charles II of England, the United Kingdom was addicted to tea. This is a problem for the UK for a few reasons. First, tea trees were only grown in East Asia at the time, namely the Great Qing Empire. Second, the Qing were very insular, viewing anything outside of their nation as lesser. This included buying goods from foreign nations. I'm sure you can see the problem. Now during the 1800s tea was only grown in the Qing territory, meaning that they had a near total monopoly on tea. In the 1780s the amount of tea being smuggled out of the Great Qing Empire was said to be about 3.4 million kilos. This is according to the academic paper Smuggling in the British Tea Trade before 1784. Seeing the potential for profit, the British East India Company, the corporation which de jure controlled the Indian lands directly or through proxies, decided to establish numerous cash crop plantations, namely rice, cotton, wheat, indigo, tea, and poppies. Now one of these cash crops stand out. Why are they growing rice? I kid. There's a reason behind them growing poppies. The Qing rarely bought from European nations, simply absorbing the money that flowed in from the European nations. But there was one exception: opium, which is made from poppies. The Qing seemed to be hooked on the substance. Now the UK realized this and wanted to profit from this, so they had the British East India Company focus on growing the poppies. This is because by the early 1790s, merchants were selling 4,000 crates, each said to weigh 77 kilos, to Chinese middlemen each year. That's about 340 tons of opium being sold by a crown company to the Qing, each year. Now the Qing understood that the flow of opium would be detrimental to their society and sought to eradicate all trade of the substance in the nation. Despite emperors making the substance illegal in 1729, 1799, 1814, and 1831, trade continued. Americans also took part in the sale, such as President FDR's grandfather, Warren Delano Jr. By 1833, free trade ports such as Canton saw 30,000 crates of opium entering the Qing Empire. 1839 saw an imperial-appointed governor send an open letter to Queen Victoria to end the flow of opium, yet she likely never received the letter. The government cracked down on the foreign nation factories distributing drugs and destroyed about 20,000 crates. Chief Superintendent of British Trade in China, Charles Elliot sent a request to London, asking for military support to help resolve the issue. Small skirmishes happened during September 1839, but this led to an expeditionary force arriving to try and give financial restitution and guarantee trade security for opium. 1840 to 1842 saw the British Navy successfully battling their way up and down the coast, from Canton to Tianjin. The subsequent Treaty of Nanking saw the UK gaining Hong Kong, 5 treaty ports for Western nations to trade in: Shanghai, Canton, Ningbo, Fuzhou, and Xiamen, as well as a payment of 21 million, with 6 million upfront and 15 million between 1843 to 1845. France also gained the same rights in the 1844 Treaty of Whampoa. The Second Opium War happened 3 years after the Taiping Revolution, which I will cover later if there's interest. This is because in October 1856, a Qing official imprisoned the crew of the UK registered ship the Arrow. Naturally the Hong Kong governor didn't like this, as within the month, the East Indies and China Station, a formation of the Royal Navy, bombarded the coast leading to the city of Canton. the force lacked the manpower to seize the city. Riots soon engulfed Canton by December and European warehouses were burned. As well, a French missionary was executed, which gave France a reason to join. Naturally, the governments would want to seek more concessions than previously. This would include the increase of laborers known as coolies, actual legalization of opium as it wasn't officially legalized, opening all of China to the UK and French citizens, and exemptions from foreign imports on internal transit duties. The Second Opium War ended by 1858 with the Treaty of Tientsin, which saw the actual legalization of opium, 11 new treaty ports opening, war reparations and lastly the right for traders and missionaries to travel throughout China with legal passports. Notably, the Forbidden City, the Palace of the Emperors, was occupied. The treaty was recognized in the First Convention of Peking in 1860, which involved the UK, France, and the Russian Empire. This saw the changing of several territories, such as Eastern Manchuria, now Russian Manchuria, being ceded to the Russian Empire, as well as the territory of Hong Kong gaining the Kowloon Peninsula. This period is known as the Century of Humiliation by the Chinese, as the numerous unequal treaties relegated the Qing to a lesser nation that the foreign nations can exert influence over. This period is important as it fueled the anti-imperial sentiment which would lead to the Shanghai Revolution 51 years later, in 1911. This led to the Chinese Republic. When talking about the Opium Wars, to the UK, it is viewed as a footnote. Small wars that existed to balance the debt of the tea sales. To the Chinese, it is seen as the start of the Century of Humiliation. Evidence that the Qing emperors couldn't stand up to the foreign nations. It's crazy to think that the UK unknowingly toppled dynastic China all because they were buying so much tea. That's all for today. Check out my TikTok, YouTube and Patreon. Please comment, share and let me know what you thought.